All right, hello class. Welcome to week 12. So there's a couple quick things that I want to go over today. Not a whole lot, because I think we did a really good job of setting up our work for Project 4 on Monday. But there are a couple of things that I want to go over in this video. So the first of which is, if you're not already thinking about what you want to say or what you want to argue or whatever in Project 4, then I want you to start to think about that seriously. So you just came off this project where you looked at all of this research, you looked at a topic that you're interested in. And now I want you to really think about, okay, what it is that you want to try to do in relationship to this topic or this community, so that way we can start to move this project forward. Okay. In terms of what we have going on for this week, I want to point your attention to what was here on Friday. Now, initially, I had you guys writing an introduction for Project 4. Now, normally, well, let me put it this way. An introduction for Project 4 is going to require you to be aware of the argument that you want to make, and it's also going to require you to be aware of any kind of significant changes you make to your lit review, any revisions that you make that you're going to be making in order to tailor the lit review into this new purpose. And because we're not quite there yet, I want to hold off on that. So you'll see that I deleted the introduction. So you don't have an introduction due for this week. I think what we'll end up doing is kind of making that an in-class thing on Monday that we'll go over. It'll be a good opportunity to think about how you might want to revise the lit review. It'll be a really good chance to sit down and talk about the arguments that you guys want to make. And so I think we're going to hold off on that till Monday. So to be clear, you had initially an introduction or draft of the introduction due. I'm deleting that, and we're going to do that in class. So the only thing you have due for this week is this blog 7, which I'll go over in a second. Now, there's a couple things we have for reading this week that I want you guys to pay attention to, especially Chapter 8, Developing an Argument. And even Chapter 9, I mean, that one as well. Because what these chapters are going to help us do is they're going to help us understand how to occupy that space that we talked about in terms of the cars model stuff, how to find your niche and how to occupy that, and how to say something new within this discourse or within this conversation. So be sure to go over those because that'll help you. It'll kind of flesh out the things that we've already talked about in class. Other things that I want to point you toward is I do have a couple samples of Project 4 up here, and so make sure that you're referencing those as you go through. We'll walk through these again in class as well, but I do want to make sure that you guys are aware that those are there, so if you're confused about how this all fits together, those are at your disposal. Okay, so I want to go over, just to kind of recap what we did in class on Monday, and just to think about how this whole project fits together. Now, if you remember, what I said is we're going to take the research that you did for your lit review, and we're going to use that to make an argument. So what that means is the only real kind of new pieces of writing that you'll be doing are going to kind of follow up after that lit review. And so you'll have your introduction, which introduces, your purpose, the topic, the importance of it, et cetera, et cetera. You'll have the lit review, and then you'll come in after the lit review, and that's where you will introduce your proposal idea or your argument or your thesis. So essentially, the lit review will say, I argue X, the lit review will say, this is the topic, this is how people are talking about the topic, and then you come in and say, okay, based on all this stuff, I argue X, Y, and Z. And then the two new sections that you'll be adding are a discussion section, first a methodology section, and then a discussion section. So the methods section is essentially, and you can kind of go here to look at it, just a description of how you would make your idea happen, and then the discussion section is just an opportunity for you to explain why your idea is a good one, how it will solve the problem, or what the limitations are, what problems might arise if you tried to make this happen, stuff like that. So that's where we're going, and that's kind of where we'll start to steer our conversations on Monday. Now, I want to go to this blog 7 thing real quick because this is what we're really going to be using to launch us into this project. So make sure that you're completing this. And so you'll see essentially what we're doing is we are coming up with our argument, and this is why I really want you to think about what you want to do. And I want you to try to frame it like this: I propose, and then list, explain what you think your idea is, what your argument is based on your research. So for example, if we're dealing with gender in nursing. I always come back to that one because it was a really good example last year. But if your research did a good job of fleshing out different potential causes for gender disparity in nursing, you could say, I want to do something about this. And so you could say, I propose a new way of marketing the field of nursing to students in the university that is maybe gender neutral. Okay. And so that would be your idea. That would be your proposal. I propose a new marketing strategy for this field. And that's great. And so then when you get to your methodology section, you have to explain how you would market that. And then when you get to your discussion section, you have to explain, what that would do. Do you think it would actually fix the problem? What would the limitations be? So I want to see you starting to kind of come up with those ideas here. And so think about what your proposal is. What is your argument? What is your idea? How are you approaching this topic? So once you have that, then I want you to just think about your late review and to think about what sources you might want to bring in here. And so again, you're not going to use the entirety of your late review. And so think about the sources that are most beneficial to your argument, and bring 3 of them in here and say, so this is my proposal, and I think the first source that I would use to back this up would be this one, because, then this next source because, and the third source because. And so that's what I'm really looking for. I want to see you thinking about not only what argument you want to make, but also just a quick cursory glance at your lit review, what sources you might want to bring in. Okay, so that's what we have on deck for this week. So again, no introduction, just the blog. Okay, but I want to talk about the lit review for a second because it is so important to this project. So I want to make sure that for all of our classes for the rest of the semester that you have access to that. And so whether you prefer to work online or with a hard copy, I don't care. Just make sure that in class you have access to your lit review. So I don't know if you can pull it up on Blackboard after having submitted it. I don't think you can. So make sure that you have either emailed yourself a copy or you have one on Google Docs or whatever. However you want to work on it, just make sure that you have access to your lit review because we will be using that in class from now on. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Like I said, by Monday, you will have all of your grades for everything back from me, so look out for those. If you do have any questions or concerns, drop me a line, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.